Sex after 60? When my friend Linda asked me that question over dinner, I nearly choked on my coffee. She looked at me so seriously, as if she were asking about the meaning of life. And I laughed. Because just 2 years earlier, I would have answered, of course not. I was 62 when my 27-year marriage came to an end. There was no dramatic scandal. No explosive arguments. One day, I simply realized I was living beside a man who had long since become a roommate rather than a partner. After the divorce, I convinced myself that chapter of my life was closed forever. I wasn't heartbroken. I wasn't looking for a relationship. I didn't sign up for dating apps. Honestly, I believed romance belonged to younger people. People in their 30s, 40s, maybe even 50s. Then Michael entered my life. We met by chance. I was walking my dog in the park. He was sitting on a bench, feeding peanuts to squirrels from the pocket of his jacket. I still remember my first thought. What a strange man. A week later, we ran into each other again. Then again. And again. At first, we talked about ordinary things. The weather. Our children. The trips we had postponed for years because life always seemed too busy. It turned out we had far more in common than I could have imagined. Being with Michael felt surprisingly easy. He never tried to impress me. He never talked about who he had been 30 years ago. He wasn't competing with anyone. He was simply present. And somehow, that frightened me more than anything else. Because one day I caught myself looking forward to seeing him. Then I started choosing my clothes more carefully. Then I found myself checking the mirror a little more often. At 64 years old. Can you imagine? I thought people weren't supposed to feel that way anymore. But I was wrong. One evening, we sat beside a lake watching the water shimmer in the fading light. Suddenly, Michael said, "You know, the biggest misconception people our age have is believing their story is already finished." I didn't answer. Because those words landed directly in my heart. All my life, I had assumed that age gradually takes away desire, feelings, and hope. The truth turned out to be very different. With age, you don't lose the ability to love. You lose the fear of looking foolish. You stop feeling the need to prove yourself. What remains is honesty. Later, our relationship grew deeper. Much deeper. That's when I realized something nobody talks about openly. After 60, perfect bodies and appearances matter far less. Trust becomes more important. Warmth becomes more important. The comfort of being with someone who genuinely cares about how you feel becomes priceless. At this age, people understand the weight of loneliness. And because of that, they value closeness more than ever. Today, I'm 66. Sometimes I hear people say that life beyond a certain age becomes little more than waiting. Every time I hear that, I smile. Because 2 years ago, I believed the same thing. Then I met a man who taught me a simple truth. Age may change your face. It may add wrinkles. It may slow your steps. But if your heart can still respond to another person, then life is far from over. So, is there sex after 60? My answer is this. After 60, there is something even greater. There is intimacy that no longer needs to prove itself. And perhaps that is exactly what makes it truly valuable.